Welcome to the Atomic Level, the show where we decode the matters of wealth, one insightful conversation at a time with the rising stars at finance, business, and tech so that you can grow and protect your net worth and your net happiness. I'm Chris Snook, and today I get to do something I've been dying to do for 9 years. I welcome Joel Comm to the Atomic Level and put him on the other side of the mic. Joel, it's great to see you, my friend.
Master Snook, always a pleasure, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. You are always the guy doing the interviews, and I've had the pleasure of being on your show and platform 3 times over the last 9 years. And so I am excited today to really unpack for my audience and yours kind of the human behind the work and all the things that you are up to today and that you've done in the past. So we'll get right into it with starting with the man himself and kind of what shaped your worldview. So just talk to us about, your career arc, kind of whatever you think is relevant, and then we'll get into what you're working on today and that kind of thing.
I've always been really hugely independent and strong-willed and curious. And, I kind of somehow made my way through college. I don't remember a lot of it because I think I was too busy being stoned and partying. Didn't really have any direction. Came from a broken home, and so had all kinds of confusion as a young man, and just did what got swept along with culture, what culture told me to do. And in my mid-20s, found spirituality in the person of Jesus Christ, and totally turned my life upside down, instantly cleaned up a lot of things and thought patterns and processes in my life. Didn't fix everything, I don't want to, everybody has a different experience, but it gave me a moral ground to stand on. It gave me a firm foundation with which to build my life on. And doesn't mean that things didn't go wrong and that I didn't screw up things, because I'm really good at screwing up things. But was married for 24 years, got 2 adult grown children, divorced, getting married again, actually, in September after 10 years with my lovely fiance, Erin, who you know. And I have been entrepreneuring really since the early 90s. My first entrepreneurial gig was as a mobile DJ. I know you would never imagine this voice to be the voice of a DJ, but I did radio, I did nightclubs, and eventually I figured out, hey, I can make more money with my own gear doing private parties, and did about 200 of those, all of the while deeply into technology. In fact, I remember when Pong came out, the first video game, and playing it in the arcades, because there was all these pinball machines, and then there's this Pong, and instantly it's like fascinating. But I bought my first computer when I was 16 years old in 1980, so now I've completely dated myself.
What was it? Was it the TRS?
It was the TRS 80 Model
baby.
1.
I had one of those.
Yeah, the first computer with 4K of RAM. No, the storage device was a cassette player. So, you would type save and then hit play and record on the cassette player, and it would save it all to a magnetic cassette tape and load. So I was into computers and dialing into bulletin board systems in 1980. So technically, I have been in the online world now for, 46 years. Right. It's been a long time. 1995, built my first website and felt like the internet was the next big thing. And since that time, I've written 16 books. My 17th is going to come out in December. And I've basically weathered every major disruption that's taken place, whether it was the web, social, mobile, blockchain. Now we've got AI, live video, and created products and services that helped people like us that weren't necessarily highly technical, but that I could make seemingly complex subject matter easy to understand for people. And so my books have been read around the world. I've spoken around the world, and I remain curious and playful to this day, just seeking to try out the new toys, metaphorically, to see what works, what enhances my life, what technology I can harness to do something cool. And when I figure something out, invariably people want to know, how did I do that? And that's where the books and the talks and the blogs and the Substack and the interviews and all of this comes from and leads to. So here we are today, and I'm currently still hosting, now in our ninth year, the Bad Crypto podcast with our mutual friend Travis Wright, Sir Lord Travis Wright. And I'm hosting the AI for Everyone show, which is specifically for those that are 55 plus, give or take a few years, who are intimidated by AI, who are confused by it, who are frightened by it, who just really don't know, which, by the way, is the majority of people out there. Our Twitter feed is not representative of the rest of the world. And so AI for Everyone seeks to make AI simple, easy, useful, and fun for those people. And my book that comes out in December, AI Made Simple, Artificial Intelligence for Everyday Life, is targeting that same group of people. So there's
So
a lot there, and
yeah,
I
yeah,
unpacked I unpacked the underwear. I think there's still a lot in there to
yeah,
go
yeah.
over.
Let's no, it's a good high level where we're heading. I want to calm it down and speed it back up. So I think you sold your first company to Yahoo Games, right? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, that was the first sale I made. I had done some other deals before then, but in 1997, I had already my website was a family-friendly website. We did a lot of software reviews, and I had a few web games that were on there because I'm a gamer. I've always been a gamer, still a gamer, and I love computer gaming. My webmaster introduced me to a young graduate at UCSD, San Diego, and he had created the foundations of what might have been the world's first JavaScript multiplayer game room. And he had a few of his friends testing out hearts and spades, and I think chess, maybe backgammon. And I thought, well, this was really cool. And I proposed that we partner up. We did. We named it classicgames.com, and we grew it, and we expanded to 16 games and had thousands of people playing these multiplayer games. And then Yahoo bought it from us in 1998. My partner went to work for Yahoo as the chief game Yahoo, and I stupidly took cash and walked away. He probably didn't have to work another day in his life. But at that time, it was the most money I had seen, and since that day, I've been really fortunate and blessed to have never been in the red, which so many of our peers get everything and then lose everything and have to get it back. And for whatever reason, I've been fortunate enough to always keep my head above water.
And that's why you still have hair and I don't.
Perhaps could be genetics also.
um, one of the things I wanted to ask you that I've never asked you about that because I've heard that story. Others haven't maybe, but um, how do you feel like at that time? Maybe you weren't even in touch with what your motivation was, but whenever you do get an exit like that, usually, that influx of liquidity creates mixed feelings, right? There's obviously the feeling of, hey, wow, success. Maybe there's the feeling of victory. Maybe there's the feeling of freedom. Maybe there's all those things, and then usually somehow in there, there's other feelings like worry, doubt, whatever can creep in
Oh,
because it's a whole new world, right?
yeah.
And then you kind of go, well, what next? And so, I've learned, from multiple different entrepreneurs and myself and everyone's stories that sometimes what's next is I can do it again. And like you kind of just take it for granted because maybe that first one was easier. Other times it's a little different than that. And maybe you go, what if I can't do it again? Or, and I'm just curious without trying to lead it one way or the other. I'm just curious, are you present to like kind of what you were thinking back then? And then
Yeah.
fast forward to, other inflection points and kind of walk me through the journey of kind of awareness around your motivation then, in the middle and today.
Well, I think the motivation then was always to grow it to become the destination for online gaming, and then I realized, oh, there are some that might want to purchase it. So I actively went out there and started contacting the big search engines at that time, which were Excite, Lycos, InfoSeek. Warner was really big, online.
Was Ask Jeeves around then?
I don't think SG's was there yet.
Yeah, I don't think he was there yet.
I
Maybe
began
Alta Vista. Maybe Alta Vista
Alta
was.
Vista was, yep, and I began shopping it around, and I had some nibbles, but no real bites. And Yahoo contacted me, so my feeling and state of mind at the time was, "Woohoo!" Look, we sold out cheap. It was probably Yahoo's least expensive acquisition because I didn't know anything about this. I wanted $1 million plus a piece of the ad revenue for me and my partner. At that time, $1 million was wow. We spent, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. He did most of the coding. I did the marketing. It wasn't that much work. It was a lot of fun, which goes hand in hand with my MO for everything that I do. If I'm not having fun, then I don't want to do it, which is why I've never become wealthy, because I've never focused on the business. I've done well, but I'm not what I consider wealthy. I've got peers around me that are, 8, 9 figure people, some of them 10. And that's never been my motivation. My motivation has always been play with the things that interest me, build cool stuff, and then see what else there is to do. I also spin a lot of plates. I'm great at doing a lot of projects at the same time because I can't focus on one thing. I would probably be wealthy had I chosen to focus on one thing and stuck with it. But I want to play with a lot of different technologies. I want to try and experiment and do a lot of different things. It's kind of like stepping up to the home plate and swinging for the fences each time. You're going to connect enough times that you've got home runs and occasional grand slam. So the acquisition was a big celebration. It got us out of debt, paid off our house, paid off credit cards, and never looked back. But at the same time, I had other things that were going on that I was continuing to build other websites that were doing well, that I was equally excited about. And but I have had those moments. In fact, recently, where I ask myself, is my greatest work behind me? Am I done? And this has happened multiple times in my career where I'll finish up a project or a book and then the well goes dry and I start to wonder, where do I pivot to now? Because you can't force a pivot. You can't just say, I'm going to find a thing and I'm going to do it. Part of the theme of my book, The Fun Formula, is you have to be curious, you have to take risks, and then the hardest part of all, you have to trust the process. You have to wait until it's the right time. And what's really funny about this, Chris, is in 2017, while I was writing The Fun Formula, I was challenged with my own thesis because I was kind of lost in a wilderness at that time, wondering, well, now what do I do? I'm feeling a little left behind. There's no particular technologies that are really exciting me now. There's nothing that I think I want to master. And I was a little depressed about it. And here I am writing the book, telling people be curious, take risks, and wait for serendipity to do its thing. So it forced me to wait for serendipity to do its thing. And the story ends, or I should say begins, in my relationship with Travis Wright. We had been doing a lot of messaging back and forth during the 2016 election cycle, discovered that we shared a lot of the same political positions. And after the election was over, he had asked me one day, what do I think about Bitcoin? And I told him, I'd heard of it and I kind of passed by it. I didn't really understand it. What is this Bitcoin mining thing? Are there little people inside my computer with axes going ding, 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 ding? I couldn't wrap my head around it, which is really unusual for me because I heard about it years earlier, but the whole mining thing threw me off and I kind of just dismissed it. But we kept going back and forth and learning about cryptos. I bought my first slice of Bitcoin, I want to say in May 2017. And July 16th, 2017, he was saying, we should take these conversations public and start a podcast. And he was kind of joking, but I said, let's talk. 2 days later, the first episode of the Bad Crypto podcast came out and blew up instantly. Here we are about to wrap up our 9th year, enter our 10th with over 10 million downloads and subscribers all over the world. Serendipity hit. I didn't know what to do next. I wasn't actively seeking a thing. I was waiting for it to come to me. It came to me and we just ran with it. Before you knew it, I was immersed in crypto and blockchain and Bitcoin.
I remember that well, and it was funny because Travis and I reached out to him in 2015 to write the book that we ended up publishing at
Yeah,
the end of 16, early 17, called Digital Sense, together
yeah,
with Wiley. And and then I remember him calling me maybe like right after the first episode dropped, or maybe it was even before. I don't recall. I think it was right around July 16th, but it may or may not have been before you guys agreed to do it. I just remember him calling me and saying, "Hey, I'm talking with my friend Joel Comm, and we're thinking about doing this show about crypto and Bitcoin. And what do you think about this idea?" And I remember when he shared with me the thesis and kind of how it was like, we're having this conversation 5 days in a row now, just between us. And I think what we're going to just do is start recording it because
yeah.
we're just learning in real time. And I remember the marketer in me just thought, and Travis, as you know, is just a genius in his own way. And I remember the marketer in me thinking, well, how brilliant, right? Because, and then he told me the name. He's like, we're thinking about calling it the Bad Crypto Podcast. And I said, it's perfect, because I was like, because you can never be considered an expert. And so you
Yes,
immediately take that off the table. You are not saying you're an expert. You're saying we don't know what the hell we're talking about. But as
yes,
we learn what we're talking about, you can learn with us. And I thought it was
yes.
so accessible. And so the success of it didn't surprise me, but again, it was work. I mean, I think for those who wonder, I mean, there was so many winters, as we know, in that season, because 17 had its run, and then the bottom fell out for several
Right.
years. And then, you know, um, it was multiple cycles that you guys have been through, but you just kept
Let me
publishing.
say a couple things
I
about
think you
that.
just kept publishing. And I think that's the key, is you just
Yeah,
doing it. Like when no one wanted to listen, or when no one wanted to be in the market, you just kept doing it.
yeah.
And I think that's one of the takeaways that people can learn from you, is you just.
Well, we were fascinated. This is the thing. You have to be into what you're doing, so you're right. We called it bad crypto because it immediately took the expertise marker off of the table. We were clear that, hey, we don't know anything, and so we became the voice of the common man, of every man. That's also like, okay, what is this? I can trust these guys because they're just inviting us along on the journey. And it was really interesting because we started July 2017, and that's when that crazy bull market happened, and we just rode that thing, and the listenership just rode along with it, and then it came crashing down, but we were still fascinated by it. And then we got into NFTs, and then the next bull market came around, and we rode that. And for a while we were doing 3 episodes a week, and it just became too much. Now we do one every week or every other week. He's in Dubai, I'm in Puerto Rico, and it gets more challenging sometimes to record. But it's one of those things that I don't think we want to stop. We are one of the oldest, maybe the second or third oldest, longest running contiguous crypto podcasts in the world. And as long as we keep doing that, unless Laura Shin stops, or whoever we might be number two, I don't know, then we're going to remain,
I
we're there.
remember you'd probably remember this, but I remember it was the first time I think I met you in person. It was September something of 2017. It was a couple months after you'd started. You were about 90 days in, maybe 60 days in, maybe. And we all decided to go, or got invited to, I can't remember the event that Nexus or somebody was putting on
Oh,
in
yeah.
Aspen.
Aspen. Yep.
And we all shared that place. I remember I flew in late, and then like I drove 4 hours to Aspen. I think I got in at like 2 or 3 in the
Yeah.
morning. I was on Monster like this, like came in, and we were all crashing in this Airbnb, and you were recording episodes with like Ron Paul and a bunch
Yeah.
of people that were there, G. Edward Griffin, and
Yeah.
there was like I mean, I remember even Peter Schiff was in there,
Yep.
hating on it still then, and him, and it was just an interesting, such a really cool
Yeah.
memory. And I remember, I think that was the first atomic swap between Lightning Network and Bitcoin, because I remember
Yeah.
waking up and you were like, the first ever atomic swap just happened, and I'm like, what the hell is that? and we're all just sitting in that living room. Like it's a fun memory.
Yeah.
It's funny to see that. So curiosity is one, fun is two. You know, you
Risk taking is too. Curiosity is, you got to be curious. You've got to use your creativity and explore things. What is this? What can this do? What can I do with this? How can this help others? Is this fun? Is this interesting? If it meets enough of those criteria, I want to know. The second is risk taking, which it's a special breed of human being that is willing to step outside of the secure income, although many have discovered that there's no such thing as a secure income because you can lose your job, and be willing to take risks, understanding that, hey, you might not make anything this year or you might crush it. And, if you look at my map over the last 31 years of online business, it's like this, up and then down in some really lean years, especially when the dot-com bubble burst in 2000. It took 4 years of leanness before that chart zoomed back up again, thanks to discovering Google AdSense monetization and writing a book that helped, teach people around the world about it. So you have to be willing to take risks, and
so I want to
not
talk
everyone's
about that
willing.
because as it relates to risk taking, I would keep going, but I want to understand how you think about risk and then how you use pattern recognition because you just mentioned Google AdSense.
Mhm.
There's people today that don't understand what Google AdSense is, right? And I don't say that for any other reason than your framework for how you apply pattern recognition to risk taking, because we all take measured risk, right? Everybody takes risks at some level, but we don't necessarily take risk at the right time for where we want to go.
Mhm.
And I'm curious how you've gained from pattern recognition from each thing that you've done, success or failure, and how you see around those corners, because that's, I think, something that you've done is you've seen around corners.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that I was doing it intuitively. It took multiple repetitions of this cycle for me to see it. In fact, I have created a framework around this now. I've coined a phrase. I'll actually share an infographic that I've made about this with you right now. Let me just see if I can pull it up on a PDF here. Does it allow me to do a PDF sharing on?
Should allow you to share your screen in whatever window you have. So for those who are listening to this on
There
replay
we
or on
go.
audio, you'll want to check it out on Substack
Yeah.
if you want to see
So
it.
I coined it the disruption confidence cycle, and this infographic kind of lays it out. It's actually part of a report that people can get for free, and it's a 5-stage thing that's based on your pattern recognition. So disruption happens, right? And initially, it's seriously noisy. Something comes about, whether it was the web or mobile, the iPhone, the apps, blockchain, live video, all social media, all these technologies come along, and people are like, wait a second, I just kind of figured things out. What's happening here? So you have this disruption that takes place, and you're wondering, is this going to shake what I've built? And so, as leaders, it is very natural for us to then doubt
Sure.
what we're doing. Is this, am I stupid for not doing this? Am I dumb for trying this? Is everything going to fall apart? Because if there's one thing that I and other leaders have discovered, it's that nothing lasts forever. Everything changes. And the moment you're coasting on whatever your revenue model is and you start thinking it's always going to go on like this, odds are against you that that is going to take place. And so doubt is very real. And just like I was telling you, I was questioning, is my best work behind me? You begin to question your relevance. Is anybody going to care what I have to say again? Are they going to buy my products, my services? Are they going to hire me? Then what happens is clarity comes. We see the pattern and go, oh, wait a second, I've seen this before. This is not new. I've been through this before, which is why when I'll get to telling you about my latest shift and again explain how I went through this very same 5 steps. Again, this is where we recognize the pattern and we go from what is this to wait a second, this feels like I've been here. Number 4, then the fourth stage is confidence. We go, oh, okay, yeah, it's a shift, but my fundamentals remain the same. So I'm going to be curious and I'm going to experiment, which is what I've done my whole career, and I'm going to move forward into this technology. Finally, the experience that we have actually becomes our advantage here, and we get momentum. And this is where those of us who are seasoned and have been through this cycle many times actually have a distinct advantage over the younger people that haven't seen this before. The younger people think that what we're in right now with AI is going to continue forever. It's not. It's going to evolve. It's going to change. And what might be working for you today is not likely to be working for you the same tomorrow. And so experience becomes our advantage, and integrating new tools with deep judgment creates unstoppable forward motion. So as you talk about pattern recognition, it comes from experience and having done this thing again and again and again.
I love the framework. It 100% simplifies it, but I can see every aspect of that. So let's use that framework right now and have a
Mhm.
discussion about what we both think is happening and why we're having this conversation for folks, and what they can take away from it. Because I think,
Yeah.
now we're into the meat of it. That 5-part framework is great. So um let's just go step by step. So the first rung, let's just talk about that.
Yeah, let me personalize it because, bad crypto's been going for almost 9 full years right now, and I moved to Puerto Rico, back in 2021, with Erin, my fiance, and, about a year into that, the NFT market collapsed. That had been my latest pivot. I became a creator and a leader in the NFT space, minted over 1.5 million NFTs, huge proponent of them, believe in digital collectibles, still do, but greed got involved. And like it always does, the hype led to a market collapse, and the NFT market still hasn't recovered. It'll be back. It's coming back. NFTs are still here to stay, but there was nothing really for me to do at that point. And I was okay with not having anything to do because living in Puerto Rico, found a great community of people here on the island, like minded, high performers, great people, everything from thousandaires to billionaires. And because of the community we're in, it kind of treats everybody the same. It's great. Their value does not come from how much money they have. And so found myself doing a lot of traveling with Aaron, seeing the world. And all of a sudden, a few years later, I realized, oh, I'm not making any money. I'm living semi-retired. And I'm not in a position, I don't think I am, where I could retire for good. I think, and I'd like to keep working. I'd like
Well,
to
I don't think your
produce.
mind. I mean, I've known you now for 9 years, and you don't have a mind that's going to retire.
I wanna create. I think the whole myth of retirement that we learned from our parents, get your gold watch, move to Arizona or Florida and just play all day. You have to be creating. You have to stay active. I'm not gonna stop. I don't see any reason that I would want to stop creating. And so I started feeling around 2024, after a couple of years of not creating, all of a sudden my doorbell's not ringing. I'm not being asked to speak. Nobody's asking me to write books. I started to ask myself again, are my best days and my greatest work behind me? Well, I tuned into AI when ChatGPT came out, 3 years ago, 4 years ago now. And, uh,
Yeah.
and Travis and we started the Bad AI show, and we thought, let's do a weekly show where we do the same thing. We experiment with AI, and just kind of show people what we discover. We did about 20 weeks of it, I want to say 20 episodes. And I realized that, there's people that are covering the tools daily, and we can't keep up with that. Let's just do Bad Crypto and talk about AI on Bad Crypto, which sometimes we do shows that are just dedicated to AI. And I continued being a user of AI. But all of this time, all of 2025, Aaron could tell you how many times I must have gone to her and say, I don't know what to do with myself. Am I done? Is this it? I thought AI was going to be the thing, and I can't keep up with that. And then something really interesting happened in February of 2026. I was seeing all of the posts on X and LinkedIn about people using OpenClaw and Claude Code, and I thought, okay, I'm not a complete idiot. I'm kind of an idiot, but I'm not a complete idiot. I haven't arrived there. I wonder if I can figure this out. I wonder if I can set up an open claw to do a task for me. And so having no idea what I was doing and no ability to code, I went to Claude and I said, I want to set up an open claw. I want you to talk to me like I'm a fifth grader and lead me through it step by step. Great. Open a terminal, copy paste this. Let's find you a host. Here's some hosts, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I got it set up. I had my open claw set up in like 2 hours. I mean, just using AI to lead me through it and through all the errors. And then before you knew it, I had it doing a task for me. And then I thought, well, people are using Claude Code to build things. What if I try and build a website with it? And before you knew it, I had this domain, artificialintelligence.studio. Like I bought an artificial intelligence top level domain just because it was available. And I had Claude Code build out a site with 4 tools on it. It's live. You can go see it. It's very rudimentary, but I built it. And that empowered me to build more games, entire huge websites, my own site focused on me as an AI speaker. I became a practitioner. And more than that, I became hyped. I like it hit all of the dopamine centers in my brain that fire off every time I go deep into something, and all of a sudden I'm creating AI for Everyone show. I'm being got speaker requests coming in because now I'm hands on with it. Now I can say, here's how you do this thing. Here's how you're not left behind. Here's how I can help empower you to also become a practitioner. So just because AI didn't feel right to me as a user doesn't mean that I dismissed AI, because now I became a practitioner and a builder with it. And
Yeah,
I
and
am
I think
just as
again,
excited.
yeah, I want to keep going, but so we're on step 3 of the framework, right? Of your framework, right? It's
Yeah.
because there was this disruption that had nothing to do with you, me, anything. Just happens, right? This
Right.
disruption was we democratized intelligence to a cost level where everyone could have it. And then we had that disruption hit, and some people are aware that it hit, when ChatGPT kind of first hit it had been around for 10 years, but when it first hit its kind of inflection point where it became good enough to care about. And then
Mhm.
we had March of 24, I think, or whenever it was, when the model version hit, that really kind of became, the firestorm of, oh my gosh, like this is going to be a game changer. So that disruption was happening. Some people were aware of it. You were, I was, some weren't, but it didn't mean anything. All it did was cause us doubt, because it was like, what should I be doing? You were in that state as you were sitting in Puerto Rico, kind of looking at it's, I can't keep up with it.
Right.
And are my best days behind? So that was your version of number 2, right? You're
Yep.
questioning your value inside of
Yep.
this, in this world that is emerging.
Yes.
And and then you got clarity once you became a practitioner, because what you became clear on, and I'm summarizing, so correct
Yeah.
where I get it
You're
wrong.
you're spot on. Keep going.
But where you became clear was there is something for you in this world. In other words, by being a practitioner and by doing something that was scary, was unknown, you weren't certain about, you weren't sure if you could set up an open claw, but by just leaning into that uncertainty and using the tools available and saying, how do I set up an open claw? Walk me through it like I'm a 5-year-old, because I don't know how to do it. And I did that too, not right away either. I did that within the last 6 months too. Once OpenClaw hit, I recognized there's no way anybody's going to keep up with this. We couldn't keep up with it before. There's no way anybody can keep up with it. And I kind of panicked in my own way, because I went, I know I've been in this space for 3 years. I've got investments in this space. I've had clients in this space with nBrain, with all these things. And I'm like, and we have to re-engineer everything. We have to throw it all out. Like everything just changed. Holy crap. If I feel this way, 99% of the world doesn't even know they should care yet. And so I went through that same doubt cycle, but the clarity was you took action and then you were able to materialize without anyone's permission other than your own some results. And I
Yes.
think that's where we are right now. So then this AI for everyone, that became your way to be useful, not only to yourself, but to others. And then the confidence came in, which is the high, right? So now we're at confidence because you recognize that you don't have to be anybody but who you are. And you have now a way that you could basically write your own ticket by just being of service with who you are and who you've been and with your experience. So talk us through now where we are in this 4 and 5
Yeah,
because
great. Well, after I started building things, that gave me confidence to try other things, and I can actually show you a few of these things if you like that I've
yeah,
built.
we'd love
And
to see them. Yeah.
with each thing I've created, it gave me more and more confidence, and that turned into momentum to the point where I've got a publisher, and they said yes to a book. The book is coming out in December, and I've got people asking me to go and speak to their enterprise, their corporate, their organizations, because they see, oh, here's a guy who's dialed into this, who's figured it out, who is not a technologist. And I don't come at it from a futurist angle. It's not about what robots are going to do. This is my goal is to empower leaders to walk through this framework with confidence so that they can truly lead, so that they stop doubting, so they get clarity, so they then produce and get the momentum that they're seeking to make it so that the masses can understand that AI can be a tool which can help them do things that they couldn't do before. And I've seen that so much for myself because there's a reason that I haven't done some of the things that I've used AI to do. It's because I'm not competent to. It's because it would require coding or it would require hiring people, maybe on the other side of the world that are on different schedules, and it would take weeks to get something right. And now
And in
I
your
can
world,
make
that
it
would not
myself.
be fun. And in your world, that
It
would not be fun.
would not be fun, and even the infographic that I just showed you, that was created, I believe I think I used it might have been design. I can't remember. There's 3 tools that I'm using for infographics now. Notebook LLM, Google's does great infographics. Claude Design does some really amazing ones, and the new Chat Image GPT one is
Yeah,
just insane.
the image GPT one has been one that I've been it's amazing to me how far it's come in such a short period of time. Again, that could change tomorrow. There could be something that kicks its ass in 10 minutes,
Right.
but I agree, like, the quality of even these show cards that I'm putting out, I mean, it's seconds and it's accurate almost right out of the gate, and, you think about that's the worst it's ever gonna be. Like, when you think about it through that lens of, like, where we are today and the capability set is the worst that it'll be.
Right.
Uh,
This is as bad as it's gonna get. It's
yeah,
only gonna
like,
get
no, you
better
go, "Oh, it
from here.
doesn't do this yet." You're like, "Well, guess what? That's the worst it's ever gonna be." Like, just give it a month, give it a week.
I've created something here while we're talking because people here, saying the image might be a little blurry. There's actually a link here, if and anybody can go get this. I was going to set up an opt-in page, but I'm just going to give it away for free. This is a report that I've created on the disruption confidence cycle, and the infographic is on the last page of it. If you go to com.us/DCC com.us/DCC. I just set that up. I want to make sure it works so that everybody goes, should take you, yep, directly into the Dropbox, where you can go ahead and download that PDF for free. I'm happy to
Looks
share
like
it
it's
with you
working
guys.
on and, Comm has 2 M's in it for
Yeah,
those
that's
listening
my
on
my
audio.
last name. Somehow somebody gave me this domain, like, I don't know, 15 years ago. They're like, "We're not using this. Do you want this?" I'm like, "Yes." So it became my Bitly that I now use for everything. So
That's awesome.
I'll show and tell here a couple things for you just to show
Yeah,
you
let's show and tell.
the
Let's
very
see.
first thing that I built was like this. I wanted to pick something super simple. I said, "All right, I have this domain. artificialintelligence.studio. Let's put something up there. And so I just basically gave I free reign. I gave Claude, free reign to say, what should I build here? It says, well, let's build 4 studios on it: a content studio, a brand studio, a launch studio, and a course studio. And I said, great, let's build it. So it created 4 AI tools and gave me the code to put it up on this website. And so basically you can just walk through and say, what are you creating? I'm creating a social media pack. And you put in here what it is about, and you just follow the steps through here. And then it gives you results, uses my API to pull it off. So building this, walk in with an idea, walk out with a deliverable, was my first aha moment that, oh my gosh, I just took a dormant, unused domain and I built 4 tools on it using AI.
And
And
I think I don't know how you felt in that moment. I remember when I did something similar, and I haven't launched it yet for other reasons, but I built it end to end, and I thought of all the developers that I've hired over the years or outsourced over the years for different things, and the CTOs, and again, there's still roles for all those people, but I just thought the cost of failure, right? Reducing the cost of failure, or even reducing the cost of experimentation, is now truly like dollars, pennies on the dollar.
oh yeah,
And
it's
and so
ridiculous.
so it's like just the ability to understand that you cannot it's not, you're not just flushing out a deck, you can flush out a working MVP without anyone but yourself. And you can do it, you can conversate with it without being in working hours. Like you can,
Right.
so you're not limited by the constraints of other people's schedules, your schedule, time zones, cost. And the empowerment that gives is almost like a light bulb that will never be turned off. Then there's the other
Right.
side of it, which is the psychosis that can come for a hyper creative, which I'm interested in hearing if you've had any of that yet, where you realize just because you can build everything doesn't mean you should.
Yes. Also, yes. Definitely has happened to me. So
It happens to
that
everybody
site,
because you hit this anxiety burnout level where you're like, oh my God, I need to focus because now I've got 50 projects going because I don't have the constraint that I used to have. And the reality is I really should only be focused on one thing.
so
Right.
let me just because we are constrained by time, let me race through a few things here just
Sure.
to show you. This was the second thing. I had a website that I've had for 20 years. It's been dormant for probably 8 that I haven't used it, called growingprofits.com. And I conversated with ChatGPT and I said, what would, be a good idea? Well, online calculators are popular. And so I built this. It's AI powered. It's free. There's 49 free tools on here. Many of them are just simple calculators, right? But all of these are completely functional and they work. They worked right out of the box. AI built them, and you can see right here what they do. Some of them are AI based, and then there's articles to go along with each one of them. Is your side hustle idea actually worth pursuing? Well, here's original content that AI wrote for me that I trained it in a voice that made sense. And then you can try the free tool right here, the free side hustle evaluator. And this is all AI you put in here and it'll give you an evaluation of your idea. So now I built out 100-page website with 49 tools on it. I'm even more empowered. And I'm thinking, okay, what can I do now? I love games. And Aaron and I like playing the daily New York Times games, right? The app with Wordle and crossword puzzles and connections. And I thought, I wonder if I can build some original games, word games. And so right now at games.aiforeveryone.show.com, you can go in here and these are daily games that it creates new puzzles every single day. Threads is the only one that is a like New York Times because it's like connections where you have to group 16 words into 4 categories. I just gave it a different name. But after building that, I thought, well, I can build more. Let's try building this one. 8 words share a hidden connection. One doesn't belong. You start the investigation. Which of these words doesn't belong here, Chris?
Ooh,
One of these
I'm going to
words.
say fluoroscope.
Let's try the fluoroscope. Nope, the telephone.
Really?
All were invented by Edison. except for
Ah,
the telephone. And so then you go to the next one, and you get the point. You guys can go play all of these games at games.aiforeveryone.show.com. But I built these all so quickly. And then, I hearken back to the old days of PC gaming and shareware. Do you remember Wolfenstein 3D or Doom? The
well, yeah, of
early
course, yeah.
3D shooters. I created a game called Pound Break. And basically, you're rescuing dogs um, and shooting the bad guys with a water gun. And it is a complete 3D shooter done in the retro old school style. I could never have coded anything like this. This isn't in my wheelhouse. I don't know how to do this, but I told code what I wanted to do with it, and it built me this game. And here's the thing: I'm not planning on monetizing these games or actually doing anything with them other than them becoming a showpiece. I did it just because I wanted to see if I could do it, if I could use
Well,
AI
I think
to
that's
build
I think
things.
the key thing as we wind down with the tactical aspects, right? Is I was having a conversation with someone today, very smart and been in technology a long time, and we were talking about this kind of thing, and that I don't really know where I'm going with some of it. And I said, doesn't matter. I said, you're putting in the reps.
Yeah.
It's like a year from now, what we know is whether we do anything or not, a year from now on the current vector, the latest version of Claude or Chat or Gemini or GLM, you pick your model, the latest version of the frontier models is going to do 2,000 hours worth of high quality, high intelligent work with 90% accuracy in 15 minutes. That's a full time equivalent in 15 minutes. That's 4 full time equivalents in an hour, every hour of every day. So we know that if it slows down by 50%, if there's the biggest crash ever and the innovation slows down by 50%, you're still talking about a full time equivalent every 30 minutes at your
Right.
fingertips. And so that's 12 months from now, whether we agree with it or not. That's the reality. So the reps are all that matter right now. The pattern recognition of applying it to prior cycles, but the reps of muscle memory in this
Mhm.
cycle will allow you to find your place like Joel has found his. And I think that's my message and takeaway from what you've been sharing with us. And I think you're a wonderful example of just being who you are, embracing something foreign.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? What's the worst thing that happens? In all of this, there's experiments that I've done that haven't gone anywhere. That, it's like, okay, that was a waste of time. But was it really? Because I learned from it. And all of this leads to my ask for those that are watching that might have gotten some benefit today. My new book comes out December 1st, and I discovered something really interesting from my publisher, Chris, that Barnes and Noble does not automatically stock books anymore. They,
Yeah, they don't.
they
Yeah.
want to see pre-orders. In fact, the magic number is 300 pre-orders via bn.com. So I would encourage people to go grab a copy of AI Made Simple. This is not a book that's going to get dated quickly. I've written it so that it's more about empowering people to use AI, to think about how it can be used for their business, for their life. It's really written for the 55 plus audience. So if you've got parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, friends, people that like they're not using AI right now, either because they're just out of the loop or they're intimidated, they don't know what to do, go to AIMadeSimpleBook.com. Go grab them a copy of this. And I'm going to actually deliver the ebook 90 days before the physical book comes out for those who pre-order. But if you do this, I would really appreciate it. And these make great Christmas gifts. So order a
Awesome.
stack of them. And
Good summer reading too. Good summer reading. Right? We gotta get through summer before we get to Christmas, right? So
yeah, just go to do it at barnesandnoble.com, and
awesome.
that will really help us to get it into the
And I'll and
store.
I'll and I'll let people know too. I always encourage everybody to thank you with just subscribing to your Substack too. I know you've got a nice audience and it's building, but we appreciate yours. So any of my audience, anyone listening to this on any of the different mediums that it's available, check out Joel Comm. Order his book at Barnes and Noble so we can help him hit that 300 to get it in the stores, and also subscribe to him and just follow him if you haven't followed him before. This is who he is all the time. I've had the pleasure of being on his show and on the other side of the mic 3 times, and he's so generous with his time and with his wisdom, and he's a dear friend of mine. So subscribe, Joel. Thanks for being here. I'm going to let you get to your next show, and we'll have to have you back and see where we are in 6 7 months.
Absolutely appreciate it, Chris, and thanks for everybody for watching. Take it easy.
See ya.